Which of these neural DSP amp sims is best for a punk rock rhythm tone? We have Archetype Nolly with the Crunch amp. And we have the Fortin Cali suite. Now, for harder punk rock, pop punk music like this, I actually prefer the Cali to the Nolly. However, I did have to work harder to get the Cali to sit in the mix. So keep watching if you want to see how I made both tones. So starting with the Nolly in solo. It's a bit more of a defined lower gain, even though it still is a gainy tone, but it's much lower gain than the Cali. So let's look at what I did. Starting with the pedal, I've got this tube screamer on, but I've got the drive off, tone a little bit bright, and that controls the low mids and gives it a slightly different shape of a tone. Then we've got gain pulled back to just above 5 here. The brightness switch is on. The bass is whacked all the way up, but we'll deal with the low end later. The mids are pushed, which can be your golden ticket when making punk rock, pop punk tones. Slight bit of treble, presence and everything else is just slapped right down the middle. And I haven't touched the rest of the plugin. But notice that the cab down here isn't the one that comes with the Crunch amp. It's actually the one that comes with the 5150. And so without EQ or any other mixing, it sounds like this. Pretty decent. So this is the first EQ that I've got here where, like I said, we were going to roll off the low end because we've boosted it on the amp, but now I'm going to deal with it in the EQ. And with a much steeper Q up here, I've got rid of the fizz, and then we've got these cuts that deal with the little resonant frequencies. And then where we've got such a big mid boost on the amp, I've refined that by cutting out some honky frequencies here. So you get a lot of mid without the sort of honk and horribleness that comes with it. So let's hear this EQ off and then on. I'm trying to keep the same character, but then just mold it slightly into the mix. I'll go through these cuts and you can see what I'm taking out. So you hear those sort of honky, sounds like wind going down a hallway frequencies. You pull those out, you get good mids and a clear defined guitar tone without that stuff ruining it. And then these are just horrible resonant frequencies. Yeah, you get the idea. So there is a second EQ on here, and that's just something I felt was really causing issues at certain parts of the song. So that's why I've got this big dynamic bit here. So it only really kicks in that hard when it starts to build up there. That would have been a later in the game move, which is why it's on a separate EQ. And now we've got a limiter. This is the Finality Light from Joey Sturgis Tones. It's really cheap, and it sounds nice on guitars. Slight volume boost, but it's actually squashing the guitars a bit more. Even though you don't see the needle moving, I hear a more squashed sound, which I like. And then finally, we've got some EQ here with the SSL channel. We're boosting 8K. That's all we're doing. We're just boosting the top end, getting it brighter. So that's quite a cool boost there. Does quite a lot for the tone. And where we've cut away all those resonances and it sounded a little bit less lively, we're now bringing that all back in a nicer area with the 8K. So we still get that presence. And let's hear that in the mix again. And you heard there when I bypassed the 8K boost, the tone lost all cohesiveness with the mix. So let's remind ourselves what the Cali sounded like. Totally different character of distortion there, a bit more gainy, but a nice mid push that actually comes with the plugin, and I really did like that. I didn't have to work so hard to get the mids, but however, I did have to work to kill all the resonant frequencies because it was a little bit hissy and a little bit fizzy. So this is the tone here, starting with the pedals. Same sort of thing. Pretty sure the hex drive is a tube screamer based upon we've got drive, tone, level, just like we did in the other plugin. So drive off, tone slightly bright, level down the middle. Then on the amp, I did play around with these three where you've got the clean, the OD2 and the OD1. So the character of distortion I wanted, the OD1 was perfect. And you notice you got these two gain knobs here. So this gain 1 is like a psycho metal distortion, and I had to bring that way down to get it the character that I wanted. If I push this, you'll hear what I mean. So I brought that way down and I used the gain 2 knob instead. For this kind of music, it just felt better. I haven't pushed the bass as much. I felt like it wasn't helping the tone to have it whacked up like it was in the Nolly. You do have this pull pot saturation here with the bass that does the following. That effectively scoops the mids out of the tone. If I was doing something a bit heavier, I would definitely have that scooped, but we want those mids. And I like the character that we get from this amp, so I definitely don't have that engaged. Mids again pushed. You can actually push them quite high on this amp before it starts to get a little bit honky. A little bit of treble, a little bit of presence. And the thump knob all the way to the right. And according to the manual, having it set left with the low setting will give you a more scooped sound. So again, we're not going for that. We want those mids to be forward. But when played in the mix, this amp gave me a bit of trouble in the high end. So let's look at the EQ. A lot more cuts than I had to do with the Nolly. Same sort of filters here on the low and the high end. But we've got 4 cuts for resonant frequencies, 3 for mid honk. And then I found it'd be a little bit muddy here in the 200 hertz. But once I got rid of that, it started to really open up. So let me mute the EQ and show you what it's doing. See how in the context of the mix, it sort of sits the tone back, stops it from poking out and sounding weird. It makes it more cohesive with the rest of the elements of the song. I'll quickly show you that soloed. As you can see, I'm sort of pulling back the sort of ferociousness of it. You know, if this was a more heavier song, a bit more metalcore, that kind of thing, I'd sort of want that more nastiness in there, but I'm trying to pull that back for now. And like with the Nolly tone, we're going to do a top end boost later on. So that goes into finality here. So we're going to squash it a bit with this limiter. So yeah, it gives it a volume boost, but it does squash it. And that's a taste thing. You might not like to do that, but I quite like limiters on guitars subtly. I'll show you in the context of the mix off and on. Pushes it forward. There's obviously a big gain boost in there. Okay, and now this is more hard work I had to do with Soothe. This is an expensive plugin, so you might not have this in your arsenal. But I've whacked the sharpness up because I want to deal with, narrow resonant frequency issues. And I've pushed the depth quite high. If we listen to it in solo, you'll see what it's taking away, and it's quite important. I hear it pull some of that hiss out, and there's a weird sort of swirling sound in the mids and the sort of low mids, and it deals with that quite nicely too. Okay, and then back to the trusty SSL channel for a top end boost. I've engaged the filters here, rolled off a little bit more low end at 100, and then 12K and down. And here we are, 2 decibel boost at 8K, let's hear that. Again, really helps. I love pushing the top end with this plugin. I'll show you that in solo. And that top end boost wouldn't be possible without cutting those resonant frequencies out earlier on, which were causing me trouble with this amp. So just quickly, if you make music like this and you want me to mix your next release, then head over to my website, terrybeckleyrecording.com. Drop me a message via the contact form. I will get back to you. So in this video, I feel like the Fortin Cali won. But if you want to see how I used the Nolly plugin in a different song, because I love that plugin, then watch this video here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.